Hey everybody, welcome to Reverse Homesteading. We are setting up my worm farm. For the first time, I should say our worm farm because my hubby was actually the person who wanted to get this. I was happy to get a composting system from our local council system, which is quite cheap. If you live in Melbourne, I would encourage you to look up your local council website. If you don't have a local council in Australia that does this, at least, and I have no affiliation with these people, but I've been really impressed. Look up the compostrevolution.com.au. Obviously, it's an Australian website, but if you can, have a look at that. It's got lots of great information and little quizzes and everything. Fantastic. Anyway, I'm not promoting these, I'm not selling them. I'm just very happy with this little one I got for a great discount. So, I bought the extra little longer legs, otherwise the legs would only be about that big. Some people keep them inside, which is not something I'd want to do, but that's fine if they want to do that. There's the little tray that catches the worm wee. So if you look in the worm catching tray, as they call it, there's a little hole there, so you have to have a bucket or something underneath. They actually do supply this with the kit. Yeah, so the worms don't fall out of there, hopefully. Their waste just goes down the bottom there. So the actual worm castings, the worm poo, ends up in the farm, mostly, hopefully. And just the water waste goes out the bottom. And if you're wondering about these, we have big issues with ants here. And it did actually suggest if you have issues with ants to put the little legs in water. So that's what I've done. They were little, just stationary containers that I bought for paper clips and that sort of thing. Looks kind of snazzy, I guess. I was just going to get some takeaway containers and put them in water that way with the takeaway containers. But anyway, I might keep it this way. Who knows? We will see as we go. So it's a pretty basic setup. I have been soaking the coir peat that they tell you to soak for half an hour. It comes in like a block, really compressed. It's coconut fibre basically from the outside of the coconut, and I'm just going to get messy here. It's doesn't smell bad or anything, it's just coconut. So yeah, you're supposed to be able to squeeze it and then it doesn't drip. Well, that's my hand that's dripping, so yeah, it's not dripping now, so that's the right sort of moisture. So that's the bed for the worms, and they go in the top, it goes in the top tray where the worms are. So that's the base tray, and then you put, I think it goes that way around. Yep, another 2 trays on top, and the very top tray, I think you can get more trays if you want to. Just depends upon how often you want to work on your worm farm, I think. So now what we're going to do is squeeze the coir peat out, and just put that in there. It says to add a couple of handfuls of shredded paper, but I actually need to go out somewhere this afternoon, and a little bit late in doing that, so I'm just going to put them in this for now and add the shredded paper later. We do happen to have a shredder, which is great, but we've unpacked it, but we haven't had it running yet, so I'll shred some paper when I get home. But for now, this will be a good little worm bed. Still seems to be quite a lot in the water here. I might actually, it's probably cheating just to pour it through. I might put the last bits. Might put the last bits in there later on. Just spread that out, see how much I've got. It's not so bad. Funny thing, I had a friend come around and see my new place this morning. A friend I've known for quite a few years. She actually used to sell worms. She used to breed worms. And yeah, so definitely I got some extra tips from her. But her system was different. She just had garden bed kind of things. And yeah, so she had a very different system. So she didn't know much about these kinds of things, but she did tell me that worms love watermelon, so that'll be one of the first treats I give them. But apparently you should let them settle for a few days before you feed them. So apparently that's the expert opinion. So now the moment of truth, we shall put the worms in. And yeah, you might wonder before I do this why I picked this spot. It's not exactly level, but that's okay. It seems to be working out alright. You can see over there, there is sun that gets through the deck outside our home, but the sunlight never touches here. You need somewhere cool for worms, especially in somewhere like Melbourne. And yeah, so there's deck up the top, but because north is that way, the sun, because we're in the southern hemisphere, the sun never actually touches the ground here, which is fantastic. So that's why my worms are here, and I have a wet towel at the ready, an old towel to put over the top of it. So that's kind of like wormy air conditioning. So my friend encouraged us to give the worms a little bit of food to start. So we gave them some little watermelon snacks, and yeah, she sort of went right back to what she was doing with worms. She didn't tell me to put it face down. I thought, of course, face down. She said they actually like the rind of the watermelon better than the pink bit, so I'm happy to only give them the rind, and I'll eat the pink bit. So now I'm not sure how much of this I can do with one hand. I don't want to touch the worms too much for their sake and mine, so I'll just kind of gently encourage them out here. Hopefully I'm not being too rough with the little guys. There we go. Apparently there are 1,000. I'm not sure. They're all going to run away in a hurry. I don't think they're in the bag. I'll check later on. There you go, little guys. There's your new home. Oh, so gross. It's kind of like wet sawdust that they're in. I don't mind worms, but I don't really want to touch them a whole lot. So I'm sorry. Maybe this video will need a worm warning. If you don't like live worms, don't watch this video. So I have been a bit concerned about them. They're not moving too much, but they are, all the ones I can see are moving. So it was very hot yesterday, so we actually kept them inside in a room next to a room that was air conditioned, so it wasn't too cold for them, but definitely wasn't too hot. Yeah, look, they're all disappearing, so I think they're fine. And the last little thing they tell you to do with the actual building of the worm farm is to put some old cotton clothing or something like that in there, or you can even put parts of the box that you got it in here, and yeah, this just keeps a bit better temperature in there for them. We call it a worm blanket, or you can put a Hessian sack, that sort of thing, but they will eat the cardboard. I don't know if they'll eventually eat a Hessian sack, but for now, seeing as I have to go out soon, this will be the best you get, little wormy dudes, for now. And just need the lid on top of that. It didn't say to wet the cardboard, so I'm guessing as it said a blanket, it's just for temperature control. Oh, I can't read it. Put it around the right way. The farm, it says. I'm not sure if you can buy them elsewhere, just by themselves. Yeah, I think the cardboard, it's a bit of a problem there. Probably should have checked all this out before I made a video. It doesn't matter. You're all pretty chill if you're watching this. If you're watching my channel, you're probably pretty chill anyway. Alright, so lid on. I'll cut that later on. Whew, that's not good videography. I have a friend whose son does that for a living, so I don't think he'll be watching this. It's all good. So I might just put a brick paver on top of that just to make sure it stays there in case any possum or something comes calling and wants to knock it over. Yeah, in the meantime, I think that's pretty much it. There's a little sticker you can put on the front. Maybe I'll do that. It'll be satisfying, won't it? The internet is full of things that are apparently satisfying to watch other people do. I really want to just do this stuff myself. Alright, so put our little wormy friend on there. Not quite straight, but we'll also put this on here for people who might someday be helping out if we're away for a while. and need to feed our worms for us. It tells us what's out and what's in. Ooh, please stick. I can get that straight later. But there you go. Ins and outs in the compost revolution. Thank you very much, guys, for offering this as a discounted rate for the council. Alright, we need our cold wet blanket on top of here, which you can use as an old t-shirt. They actually said you could use an old t-shirt on the inside as well. Something, as long as it's all natural fibres. Something to keep the worms at a bit better temperature on the inside. Alright. I think that's cool. Quite literally. So I'll just have to neaten that up and make sure that the old towel is not touching and allowing the ants to actually get up into the worm farm. I was a bit sad when I found out that was a problem, but I'm sure it will be fine. There we go. Little dudes are all wrapped up. Very exciting times. So yeah, I leave them now for a couple more days before I feed them apparently, but seeing as my friend encouraged me to give them some watermelon, I did. So I guess they'll just leave it if they don't want it. I have heard worms like food at a certain level of decay, so that's kind of gross. But yeah, I'll check on them later on today and see how they're going. And thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful, and I hope you can get a worm farm going yourself one day. Let me know in the comments how you go with that, and any tips if you're an expert, I would love to hear. Thanks so much. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.